What about tabarruk with awliya, non-prophets? So, a pious scholar, can you take their shirt? Can you ask for their scarf for blessings? Meaning, you take their scarf and by taking their scarf, you hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an increase in your spiritual state. Not that that scarf has a special power by itself. No, it's not that. That's not what the intention is. Okay, and now when I was looking at this, there's no clear guidelines on this. It is mentioned in books and historical accounts as well, and it is open to some kind of corruption as well, as we see in a moment, and I'll make sure I'll mention it at the end. Because who is a pious person now? That's a city of Birmingham, Bradford have many pious claimants to piety, and anyway. So it's open to abuse. It is open to abuse, but the actual concept itself, we can't. We have to separate the actual concept from the abuse and corruption which takes place. So tabarruk with the pious. So the Salafi school say, well, I'll mention it now actually. Tabarruk with the pious non-prophets. This is permitted, and this is the view of the majority of the people of knowledge from the four schools of law and others. So they said you can seek blessings from a pious person. For example, one example I believe, or I didn't get a chance to fully check it up, is when you have a baby and you might give them a date. Some scholars might say, I assume that it's only linked to the Prophet ﷺ and not the companions. I don't know whether they say that, but I believe I read it somewhere. I do need to double check that. We say it's fine. Tabarruk with the pious. The second opinion, this is unlawful, and this is the view of the small group of scholars such as Shaykh Taqi bin Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, Imam al-Shatibi, Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, and the Salafi Wahhabi scholars. So they said you can't go to a pious person and seek blessing from them. That's not permitted. It's only limited to the Prophet ﷺ. Now, with the Prophet ﷺ, they said there's clear hadith that the companions used to seek blessing with his remnants, his hair, his wudu water, his spittle. So their argument now is that there's no remnants left, relics left. That's their argument. And obviously our scholars say no, that's not possible. There's famous relics. For example, I assume the Istanbul ones are probably the most trustworthy, in the sense that the ruler of the Muslim world, the Ottoman Sultan, obtained from the empire what he deemed to be the most authentic ones. So they do exist, and there are people who say that they have a chain of narration for these relics. And their argument is, I've got a chain of narration for this relic, give me a chain of narration for your lineage. Who's the first person who became Muslim in your family? Tell me. It's a question. It's a valid question. Who's the first? So the people who say that it's not a valid relic, ask them, who's the first person in your family who became Muslim? Show me your lineage to that person. And they won't be able to do it. But they say, well, I've got a lineage for this relic. Obviously, if you look at the people, are they trustworthy people? And obviously that's open to abuse as well. I mean, I was in Birmingham years back, and then somebody said to me, you can get hairs of the Prophet ﷺ from the unseen. And I said, how's that possible? They said, oh, if you open the Quran and you find them in there. So I just stopped there and I just thought, it's just some random person's hair possibly. It fell in the Quran, and you'll think, so obviously it's open to abuse. That being said, when there are some great scholars, pious, God-fearing scholars, who said they had a dream of the Prophet ﷺ, and he gave them some hairs, and when they woke up, they found the hairs in their possession. And they would go outside, they would always find a cloud appearing. So it is possible, but then obviously you open the door. That opens the door to just anybody saying that they've got a relic. Like happened, I think, in Pakistan a few years back. Anyway, so it's open to corrupt people trying to, exploit this ruling. So this is the pious now. What's the evidence for this? Tabarani and others narrated the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would send people to Al-Matahir, and they would return with water. So I believe there's some wells which he would drink, seeking by it the blessings of the hands of the Muslims. So that's mentioned in the hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam seeking the blessings of the hands of the Muslims. And this is in Tabarani, and Imam al-Haythami said, reported by Tabarani and Awsat, and his narrators are trustworthy, and there's discussion about one of the narrators. That's an authentic narration, according to our scholars, showing that there's blessings, that what the hadith means is there's blessings in Muslims, which you should partake of. Pious people are blessed, that's what the hadith means. Next hadith, Abdullah bin Umar reported that the people encamped along with Allah's Messenger ﷺ in the valley of Hijr, the habitations of Thamud, and they quenched their thirst from the wells thereof and kneaded the flour with it. Thereupon Allah's Messenger ﷺ commanded that the water collected for drinking should be spilt, and the flour should be given to the camels, and commanded them that the water for drinking should be taken from that well where the she-camel of Sayyidina Saleh alayhi salam used to come. And this in Bukhari Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ ordering companions to take water from a well where a camel of a Prophet drank from. So, or used to go. So that's that well is blessed because of that camel. That's what the scholars mention as a proof. And there's an additional narration which seems to have disappeared as well, where it's mentioned regarding someone who was he was accused of a crime of indecency with a woman, and the woman had a baby, and then she had a baby, and then she said it was such a man is the father of that baby. He was a pious person, and they went to that man and they accused him of indecency, and then I believe he said, asked the baby to speak, and the baby said, "It's not my father." And then at this they started, the hadith mentioned they started wiping their hands on him. So that's one narration of ours. I don't have it here, I'm just quoting from memory. I believe it's accurate. I've quoted it accurately. If I haven't, please excuse me if I've made a mistake in quoting that. I thought I had the slide there. But that's an authentic hadith, according to our scholars, where when the people witnessed this miraculous event, they went to this pious person, they started touching that pious person, seeking blessings from him, showing that pious people, you can take blessings from them. Obviously, as I mentioned before, the limits are not mentioned directly. Okay, so that's the evidences. So we've got three evidences there. The Prophet ﷺ mentioning that the blessings of the Muslims' hands, the she-camel hadith, and then the one that we haven't got the slide for, where people were touching a pious person and seeking blessings from them when they witnessed a miracle from them. So the